The assignment, quote, I want you to analyze and interpret all the events surrounding Derek's incarceration. How these events help shape your present perspective concerning life in contemporary America, the impact on your life, your families, end quote. That's the assignment. The class, American History X.
So it's been about 27 years since Tony Kaye, Edward Furlong, and Edward Norton came together to make this film. And it was a real it was a film that met with a lot of critical problems, a lot of I don't know. I'm sitting here watching this movie after 20 some odd years. I haven't seen it in quite a while. It's a film that has started popping up lately in discussions for obvious and not so obvious reasons that people are aware of. And as I watched it today, I felt that there was a lot that was being said, but the film that emerged is a little bit too simplistic for my tastes. It was, I kept asking questions about why this wasn't being addressed or why that wasn't being addressed, and how quickly it came to a conclusion that I didn't think was earned. Now, I'll say this much. Edward Norton, Furlong, Stacy Keach, Guy Torry, and Avery Brooks all give really, really good performances. But I think the film itself is underwritten. I think the screenplay is lacking in trying to compact into one day what should have taken a lot longer in a transformation. It's almost as if the director and the writer figured that Edward Norton's character's transformation was enough to pull his young brother, played by Edward Furlong, along with him. And watching it a second time made me realize that it was a little bit too pat for me, a little bit too easy. I would like to see this material developed with a broader canvas. It has the promise of a better film in it. I just don't think it has the running time to achieve that. So here we are, 27, 28 years later, looking at a film that was very controversial at its time, both in material and the production, with Edward Norton's star power taking over for a director who would ultimately disavow the film. I don't want to get into a big thing with the problems in production, except to say that there was a struggle between director and actor, and it doesn't seem to hurt the overall film. But how can you really judge that when you don't know what the film was intended? Maybe Tony Kaye intended for a much more... No, I can't even say that, because it was a shorter film. This is a 2-hour film, and I think Tony Kaye put together an hour and I think a 97-minute film. It's a film that I like. It's a film that I think is it's a good film, but it misses the mark in becoming a great film. So that being said, let's just start breaking it down, because I have problems with it, and I don't think anything can get solved without a discussion. I need a jumping off point. So please let me know your opinion so we can start playing a little bit of tennis with this thing.
It's an after-school special.
You say that in a very dismissive way. Is that the way I should take it?
I mean, what is an after-school special?
Well, I would say you're absolutely right in the content and the execution. But I would say what separates it from an after-school special are the performances, which I think are a lot better than you would see in that.
All right, so it's an after-school special with good performances.
Yeah.
It's obviously it's relevant. What did I get into? It's very 90s. Aside from just the Edward Furlong aspect, but it has those elements of that fucking like after school special gang movie, movie where teacher makes a difference. You know the ones like that. There's a bunch that come to mind that came to mind as I was watching this because it's been fucking years since I've seen this movie. Late 80s, you've got Stand and Deliver. Edward James Olmos playing Jaime Escalante. You've got Lean on Me with fucking Morgan Freeman. That's like early 90s, late 80s. It's the whole Dangerous Minds, Michelle Pfeiffer, fucking a little bit of Poetic Justice. One of my favorites, which is The Substitute. You didn't see that?
Tom Berenger.
Did it resonate? Tell me, Clarice, did it resonate? Yeah, I mean, that one has like interesting racial overtones or undertones as well. This is inverted, so it's like it's not the inner city fucking school where the teacher makes a difference. The inner city kids. It's the fucking skinhead fucking kid who has an African American principal making a difference in his life. And it does get supposedly neatly wrapped in a bow at the end, with a nice little Abraham Lincoln quote. And, you know, fucking that Why Can't We Be Friends song should have played for the credits. It's got a basketball scene that's fucking. It's also a prison movie. You know what I mean? It has a section that's very prison fucking movie, including the prison rape. So in that sense, it's of its era. It's got the fucking basketball fucking racial quality to it. So it's got the fucking white man can't jump early 90s fucking aspect to it. So it's an interesting slice of the 90s. And I do also think that it was a missed opportunity. I'm curious. You sparked my attention as soon as you said, "I don't want to get too much into this," but it was between the actor. I'm assuming that means Edward Norton and the director
Tony Kaye.
Okay, so what? So before we even get into that, those are my initial impressions.
Well, the story is that Edward Norton wanted more screen time and a more developed character. That he that I'm not really sure what the full problem was. I just know that there were a lot of problems in the making of it, such that Tony Kaye disavowed it and went to the DGA, Directors Guild of America, to take his name the off the film, because it subsequently he turned in a 95-minute film. Ed Norton, with I guess the power that he had at that moment, coming off of I think he had just come off. Had he done Fight Club at this point, or was Fight Club '99?
No.
He hadn't done Fight Club yet.
Yeah, Fight Club's after.
Okay, so he had just done Primal Scream then. So he had this cachet. Primal Fear, yes. He was the new it guy. He was the guy that was coming out of nowhere. Nobody had ever heard of him. I guess he had done a lot of theater, but he was somebody who became a very vocal, you could either say, opponent of the director or advocate for the film. I mean, it really that really comes down to who's interpreting that story. Perspective. Yeah, absolutely. And I tend to go with the fact also is that Edward Norton has had a storied career playing a number of different parts, and he has clashed with directors in the past, but he's also done incredible films, and he's given exceptional performances in great films. And I think for example, I think he and Spike Lee made, obviously Malcolm X aside, I think he made the best film of either of their two careers. The 25th Hour is the best film. Yeah, I think it's the best film of Spike's career outside of you. It's like you take Malcolm X out of the equation, and it really comes down to Do the Right Thing and The 25th Hour. I think The 25th Hour is a little bit more nuanced. I think Do the Right Thing captures a culture better. The culture, the New York late 80s struggle between, the black neighborhood, the Italian American pizza owner, a segment of the Puerto Rican element of the culture of the neighborhood, as well as Koreans. I think, yeah, but I think 25th Hour tells a more personal, narrow, and I'll say this much. I think Spike Lee had come a hell of a lot further as a filmmaker and storyteller by the time he did 25th Hour, from the time he did Do the Right Thing, which was only his third film. That's not to say Do the Right Thing is not an incredible film. I think it's an incredible film. But I think 25th, and if you ask me in 5 or 10 years, that might change. But I think 25th Hour is a film that beats out Do the Right Thing for at least storytelling. I think it's a sharper, to the point kind of study of New York at that time, and I think it's a much more mature Spike Lee film. And I think Ed Norton brings a certain honesty and gravitas to the role. And it made me think that this film would have been much better with a stronger, better director, an Oliver Stone, or even a Spike Lee. I would actually love to have seen Spike Lee's take on this material.
Thinking the same shit.
Yeah. And a lot of people would be dismissive of it because they would say that a lot of people would let Spike Lee's politics and race get in the way of what they imagine this should be. Like, it would be like Spike Lee couldn't handle this material. But if you look at Black Klansman, I think he handles the Klan very well. I think Spike Lee was very aware making that film that it could be dismissed by just his portrayal of that. I think he's a very honest and caring filmmaker in the sense of trying to present a true story. And I think his take on this material would have been a hell of a lot more powerful than what Tony Kaye brought to it. I'm not really familiar with Tony Kaye's background. All I know is that he's Jewish, and I always thought he was English, but I might be wrong in that. I don't know his background. But I will say that the common belief is that the struggles he had making this film pretty much ended his filmmaking career, because he came out against the studio. It was his directorial debut, and it was a David versus Goliath, and David did not survive this one. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, the Edward Norton, the prison connection to 25th Hour, and the whole, the Spike Lee connection there, and the idea of him not wanting to get raped in prison, and what happens in this film, or the Edward Furlong fucking afraid to get raped at Animal Factory prison. It's interesting to see the other films that are floating around at the same time, or a little bit later. Yeah. I was thinking about that. I was thinking about Black Klansman, because I wanted to revisit the idea of, when I was revisiting this movie, I wanted it to really get into the radicalization of these kids, and and then going back to Edward Norton again with Fight Club, which is a film about radicalization, among other things, obviously, and how young men get pipelined into joining these groups where they become the sacrificial bodies of whatever, either ideology or movement or whatever it is. And in my memory of it, I thought that there were more moments with Stacy Keach's character.
There definitely should have been. And maybe that's the way your memory plays on it, is that Keach is good. Keach is very good in this film. And the limited time that he has, he does a lot with what that character... Who is this character based on? This is based on a real life Tom something?
I don't know. Okay. You're opening now up a can of my childhood. The way my brain works, for those of you who don't fucking know, is my brain works in terms of like webs and timelines. And so typically you ask, well, what's your relationship to this film? So bear with me as I take you through fucking Ibrahim's brain and Ibrahim's swastika-filled childhood. And I mean, filtered through pop culture, filtered through television. So, yeah, my relationship to this film is the relationship to fucking, like, learning about fucking Nazis and neo-Nazis. Not only, I mean, the first book I tried to read, I've mentioned it before, but it's been, I don't know what the context was, and it's been a long time that I can think that I mentioned it, but it was, my mom had this book, and now it's mine, I have it, it's freaking heirloom, I guess, is this book, it was a biography of Hitler, and it's called Hitler, the Psychopathic God. And I remember...
That's fucking subtle. Like, that's really subtle.
It's this crazy fucking biography of Hitler. And I haven't read it in a while. I should reread it. But I remember being a little kid, and I was like, I want to try to read this book. And I didn't know anything about who this person was, nothing. And I remember asking, like, who is this? And Mom's telling me, like, a dictator, did all these horrible things, like, and I was flipping through the book, and it's one of those things where we were talking about this earlier. If you go back to a space that you haven't been to in a long time, it looks or it feels very small. Especially if it was like when you were much younger. So if I think about it, I envision this book seeming like huge. And I remember trying to read the book, and I was just like, yeah, I can't do this right now. Like this is, and I realized that I was too young to read this book.
Mm-hmm.
Not only because I wouldn't be able to grasp like the history, the contextual, whatever, but it was too beyond my reading level and beyond my comprehension. And so I was like, as soon as I'm old enough that I can read this book, I'm going to read this book.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of cool in the sense that it was like, I guess it gave me something to look forward to, you know. I'm going to read a book about Hitler as soon as I can, as soon as physically and mentally possible. So then, okay, so fast forward, and I remember segments in the late 80s where you would see Charles Manson on fucking TV, like, it seemed like all the time. And he was on Geraldo. No one used to love Geraldo. And I remember the fucking swastika. And I was like, okay, flag that. But I remembered the book, too. And then there's this famous episode on Geraldo in like 88 or 89, I think it was 88, where a fight breaks out on the show. A fist fight fucking breaks out, and then someone throws a chair, and then Geraldo comes back after they could clear the stage, and his nose is broken, and it was a show about racism, and it turns out that it was Tom Metzger's son. So you're talking about who's Tom something? Tom Metzger.
Tom Metzger. Yeah.
Tom Metzger started a group called WAR, White Aryan Resistance, and in the late 80s, he would come out on shows a lot, and there are different Geraldo moments. There are like Geraldo Satanic Panic episodes. Geraldo, it was just one of those ones that I really remembered, and I remember that Metzger guy, the son, and then I remember from the same time period, David Duke came out on Donahue.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward, watching Wally George, late as fuck. Well, probably not late as fuck. It was probably maybe like, let's say 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
on the UHF, like the Orange County. I live in LA, so the Orange County station. So it was like KDOC or something like that. So it was like channel 56 or 50 or something like that for me. And he had Tom Metzger on his show, and Tom Metzger spouting all this fucking racist shit. And Wally George is this conservative fucking asshole too, with a picture of Reagan, but he's like your typical fucking like Reagan conservative, Christian and all that shit, but like supposedly not outwardly racist, right?
Just this side of racist. I mean, a lot of times I would see guys like that they would put them on, and it was almost like a Wally George or a more who's that loudmouth cocksucker Morton Downey Jr. would have these people on, and it would be almost like saying, "Yeah, you're calling me a racist. This is a racist." You know what I mean? Where it's like I'm not that bad.
It was all theater. I mean, Morton Downey Jr.
Absolutely.
Have, like, was it Al Sharpton that was rolling around in some fight on that show?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like, I remember all of that, and trying to really figure all that stuff out while enjoying the fuck out of it, for all the drama and all the salaciousness of it, and being an adolescent and just like being like, fuck, this is fucking crazy. Fuck, this is some crazy racist shit. Fuck, this asshole who's all Americana or whatever is like fucking is against this asshole, like, you know, and trying to really look at it like with suspicion, because as an adolescent, like going back to the radicalization, like you're trying to figure out who you are. You're trying to figure out what you're going to rebel against. You're trying to figure out what you're going to like so-called like side with, what you think is cool and what you think isn't cool. And so fast forward or around that same time period, maybe it's like I start getting into learning more about rock music and shit like that. And so I'm really delving into the history of rock music, and I'm seeing the swastika used by different groups, and different like punk rockers would use it because as a shock. And then it's like, oh wait, are these actual like, are they racist, or are they just using it to fucking piss people off? Is it just a forbidden symbol? David Bowie he had an era which was like the thin white dude, like it's this like fascist fucking character or persona that he would play. Later on, I wasn't into Marilyn Manson, but later on, Marilyn Manson would use the two SS lightning bolts or whatever, like the SIG runes. Death in June was a band that I've always had a problem with because it was just too fucking close to. It was too on the nose.
What were they called?
Death in June.
Death in June?
Yes.
What does that refer to?
That refers to what I don't know if it's the Night of the Long Knives. Some political Nazi assassinations, like some.
I thought you originally said Death to the Jews. I was like, what the fuck there was a band called Death to the Jews?
That would have been even more on the nose, but no. This is like groups that were like industrial, kind of very much not mainstream, adjacent to other shit that I was listening to that's very uses Nazi like aesthetics. So it's like aesthetic Nazism. And then I was also learning about Satanism, and there used to be a store called Hell, and this is a long roundabout thing, but this is why I shouldn't have a podcast. Well, whatever. So there used to be a store called Hell House of Hollywood. I've probably mentioned it maybe in the Manson context at some point. So it was run by this guy named Nicholas Schreck and Zena LeVay. So Nicholas Schreck was he was a musician, and he was also a Satanist, and he was also on some level a neo-Nazi. He had Radio Werewolf, another Nazi reference. His wife was Zena LeVay, who was the daughter of Anton Szandor LeVay, the creator of the Church of Satan, the founder, the writer of the Satanic Bible. I used to go to their store. I don't remember, because at that point I didn't know what they looked like. I didn't even know who they were at that point. So I don't know if they were ever in the store when I was in there, but I do know that like that store had like occult stuff. It would have Nazi stuff. It would have Charles Manson like memorabilia. It had like Aleister Crowley. I remember there's a famous book of his that it's like a book of homosexual poems called White Stains. We all know what that means.
Wow.
And that's one of the.
That's not a Doubleday, is it? It's not a Bantam.
Huh?
That's not a Doubleday book, right? That's not a reputable publisher. White Stains. Nice.
I mean, this is something that Aleister Crowley would have self-published through whatever. As a matter of fact, Leslie gave me a copy of that book, but I don't have it. I have it in a different bookshelf, so I don't have it in front of me. So,
Yeah.
but that obviously that's a reprint. But he would have published. He had money, so he would publish his own shit that other publishers would not fucking publish because it was pornographic, especially at that time period. It would be just too obscene.
Yeah.
So yeah. But anyway, it was some kind of rare, probably first edition of that shit. It was like behind glass. And so I'm like checking out all this stuff, learning about this stuff. Later on, I find out, okay, in late 90s, I'm learning about the Satanic Bible's plagiarism of a book called Might is Right, by this guy named Ragnar Redbeard. Super extremist, right-wing fucking book. Might is Right. It's just basically like this like social Darwinist bullshit. He also appropriated a lot from Ayn Rand, so it's like this ultra individualistic fucking like kind of Nazi type of also appropriations of the way they did with Nietzsche, with his like the fucking just have your will to power, your fucking the strong individual fucking creating the world out of what he wants and fuck everyone else and dominate and like that type of shit. So I had the book that I'm learning about background about the book. And then I'm learning about this Nazi concert that fucking Nicholas Schreck had with Boyd Rice and these other like side musicians, and it was 88. It was in August of 88, and 88 stands for the eighth letter of the alphabet is H. So 88 is Heil Hitler, it's HH. And it also coincided with the Manson murders, so it was like the death of hippiedom, the death of fucking. So I was always interested in a lot of those like things that I saw on TV. They were interesting to me, and then to see like the Nazi connection behind the Church of Satan, and like or kind of like how Nazis would like be adjacent to it, neo-Nazis. So then when this shit came out in the late 90s, I'm also learning about Norwegian church burnings and fucking Norwegian black metal and fucking how a lot of those racist, specifically this one dude, Var Vikernes, racist fucking Norwegian black metal guy murdered this other dude in a band, Mayhem, the guy from Mayhem. I'm kind of seeing all this stuff. So when the movie comes out, I'm like, yeah, this is fucking like fascinating. And so I have memories of this movie, but I have memories thinking that there's more to, again, the Stacy Keach character. And I don't know if it's just like this built up thing in my head. And it's weird because now when I think of Stacy Keach or Stacy Keach's character in that room above the party, I don't even fucking think of Stacy Keach. I think of them walking into that room and it's fucking Steve Bannon sitting there. Because that's where my brain goes now.
Yeah, I see that.
So it's at least I always assumed it was based on Tom Metzger. They've since bankrupt fucking White Aaron Resistance. In some lawsuit, they took all their fucking properties. I think he might have died a couple years back. I'm not sure. But yeah, he was KKK. He was fucking. He was at some point in the Pacific Northwest, and so it's like seeing these things that were around or getting a lot of TV play in the 80s. And then to a certain extent in the 90s, now it's like internet, but now it's like not necessarily strictly Nazi shit. It's like the pipelines that we see on the internet leading into Nazi shit. So interestingly, we go back and watch this movie, and I feel like it's really missing the piece of, on the one hand, I think it's missing a sense of connectedness in terms of like, how is this part of a larger Nazi movement? Because even there's a point when we see through flashbacks that the Edward Norton Derek character is becoming more, he becomes Nazified.
Mm-hmm.
He becomes radicalized, and then he ends up killing some black guys that he played basketball against who were trying to break into his car conveniently. And
What do you mean conveniently? You mean script-wise?
Script-wise, yeah.
Yeah. Like it's obvious. I felt the same way.
It's just, yeah, I mean, is it that they were like trying to get back at him because they know that that's the house, or are they, or is it just like these black guys who the Nazis think are running amok actually are running amok, and they accidentally are just robbing his car? You know what I mean? Like, it script-wise, and I'm glad you asked for the clarification. Script-wise, it just seems kind of too convenient that it's them, without it seeming necessarily to be like a revenge type of shit. So let's take a step back. So what happens in the film, because ultimately what I'm getting at is that when he gets back out of prison, the Stacey Keach character is like, we're way more organized now. We're on a fucking national scale. It's not individual groups. We're fucking like part of a larger movement. I didn't really get a sense of that, and I really wanted to delve more into that world. But the after-school special aspect of it will not allow you to go into that world. It will only allow you to understand that it's bad.
Yeah.
Which, obviously, maybe to some teenager, maybe it's not obvious. But maybe delving into it without romanticizing it will fucking show that it's bad. But at this point, all you're seeing is like that thing over there. And the whole film in front of you right here is supposed to be about that thing over there, but you never see that thing over there really from the inside. It's through the lens of, it's supposedly through the lens of the insiders, but is it? It always seems like from the outside. In the same way that the black gang kids are bad. So the film is about it's two brothers, the older neo-Nazi skinhead brother, and the two Edwards, fucking Edward Norton, the older skinhead brother, and Edward Furlong, the younger skinhead in the making brother. And how Edward Furlong looks up to Edward Norton's character, and how the mom is just fucking some passive fucking parent, and they're just living this fucking radicalized life after their dad, who was a racist firefighter, gets murdered by a person of color. And so now it's like, well, we're not safe. All the talking points that still get passed around. White, hardworking Americans are under attack, and everyone else is making life a living hell for them, and that's why we're losing this country, and we're losing our jobs, and blah 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 blah. So he plays basketball against some black guys and he wins, and slam dunks and all that. And the black basketball guys lose, so they lose the territory. They come back, try to steal his car. He's having sex with Veruza Balk, who's gone from previously being a witch in a movie to now being a fucking Nazi girl or whatever. And so he goes out, fucking shoots him, fucking curb stomps one of the guys, goes to jail or prison, comes out, gets raped in prison by the basically like Aryan Nation skinhead white guys in prison who are actually.
But you're missing something really important.
I'm missing all kinds of points because I'm doing my bullet point thing.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead then.
Well, go ahead.
Well, the thing about it, and this is the interesting part, this is the thing that really, this is the only aspect of the film that I found really interesting, is that he was so dedicated to the movement. He was so dedicated to the belief system. And ultimately, he's, in a sense, he's very naive and maybe, this is fucking crazy to say, but idealistic about his racism. Such that going into prison and seeing the Aryans align themselves in some ways with the Mexicans, which prison politics tells me is something that actually happens. And some of the guys that I've known who've been to prison tell me that's at least one guy who I've talked to told me that, where those alliances can be had as long as it's a business. Or some kind of like collaboration. Norton is disgusted by this. He's like, how could, this goes against our beliefs. This goes against, somebody needs to teach this guy. And the attitude of the Aryans, of the brothers, is that, he's speaking out of turn. He's, fuck this guy. Who the fuck is this guy? We're protecting this guy, so we're going to turn on our own, and we're going to beat the shit out of him. We're going to rape him, so that he knows the lesson. And after this happens, now he becomes a lone wolf in prison, which brings its own set of problems that I don't think are dealt with well in the film. But the thing about it is that this is what the film should have been about, that sense of, I think everything comes together too easily and too pat and obvious, that this transformation that he makes, because as far as I'm concerned, if you believe something if you were as bold and sold out to a belief system in the way Edward Norton's character is portrayed in this film, he's not going to just turn his back on it automatically because this happens. He might turn his back on these people, but he's not going to... I don't think he would have had the spiritual awakening in the last 6 months of his sentence that would make him the man he is when he gets out. I think there would have been too much residual racism there for him to just walk away from it. He would form his own thing, and he would break away from the Cameron character, that we've said is based on Tom Metzger, that Stacy Keach plays. I think I just believe that even in a 2-hour film, there's too much story here for it to be dealt with in a realistic and convincing way. Maybe when I was young and saw it, I was able to just skip over the beats. But watching it as an older man, I'm watching it thinking, there's so much here that is being just swept under the rug. There's so much here about his racism. And most importantly, the effect that it has on the Edward Furlong character, who has for the past 3 years been indoctrinated in this in this world of white supremacy, for him to just change because he idolizes his brother in the way that he does. I just thought that was just too fucking simplistic. I will agree with you there. It's an after school special. Everything comes together too easily. It's not earned. It's not deserved. The work hasn't been put in, and I don't know. The film would have needed more time to investigate these ideas and these thoughts, because the character that Edward Furlong is, the not Furlong, Norton, the character that he plays, Derek, is portrayed as this really intelligent, very almost a savior of this group, and he's going to be the one who's going to lead them. It just ties it together a little bit too easily for my taste. I'll say that Edward Norton gives a good performance, and Furlong plays the character that he plays much in the same way that you'll see him in Animal Factory. I think he's actually better in Animal Factory than this, but that's a better movie. So
yeah, there's a better context around it. He kind of plays that '90s kid.
He does.
Drops into every in every film.
But that's the thing that could have been great about this movie, is that if they had developed that Cameron character, if they had given Stacy Keach more screen time to show how he finds these kids, where he looks for
he basically grooms them.
Yeah, the grooming aspect. It's glossed over. All of a sudden they meet. I don't even think there's a meet. It's just all of a sudden they're sitting in a car, and he's like, "Go out there and talk to them." Oh, I can't be the one that goes out there. You know. And Norton goes out there and he starts giving this fucking this racist hate speech of blacks, Jews, Mexicans, and Asians taking over. And then there's this scene, and it's a really well done scene, I think. But the ransacking and violence of them attacking a Korean-owned, or not even, I don't know if it's Korean or Chinese-owned, but the guy, I think they said Korean, but the guy didn't look Korean, or the guy looked Southeast Asian to me, like Cambodian.
I mean,
but that it's a testament to what's being like. I don't know if it's the ignorance of their racism or the ignorance of the filmmaker in just casting an Asian face. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, but also, to be fair, it's like you was also led to believe that, like, your impression of what the person is actually what he is, based on what you think he looks like. Yeah.
Well, there's that aspect as well. So I mean, but they just commit all these they grab this clerk. I guess she's Mexican, and they just start pouring all kinds of fucking shit on her, milk. You want to be white, bitch, and this, and they're stuffing shit in her mouth, and you're just like, God damn. But it's the one point where there is an honesty in how horrible these people are, but it's not earned. There's no understanding of where these kids come from that would make them. I wanted to know more about the grooming and who they are in respect to why they become that. There's one moment where Christopher Masterson, the brother of Danny Masterson, the 70s show convicted rapist, he gets the shit kicked out of him by a group of black kids in a school bathroom, and Edward Furlong comes not to his rescue, but he comes to the scene, and it calms the situation down to a degree. And there was a moment where you wonder, well, is there some grooming going on here? What's going to happen here? And it's kind of abandoned. Here's another thing about it, is that none of the black characters who are, I wouldn't even call them antagonists within the story. they're just
plot points.
They're plot points.
They're
Yeah,
black plot points.
yeah. There's no understanding of these characters, who they are, why they're behaving the way they behave, why they're, what it's supposedly just written off as black-white relations, or the racism that exists in public schools. I mean, there's no context for it. It's really embarrassingly bad. It's embarrassing how badly handled the whole thing is, and I don't know if that's directing or writing, but it's just, if you're watching this movie, you could almost make an argument for why the Aryans believe what they believe.
Well, yeah, because it seems to justify their position. So let me go back.
Well, definitely the handling of it justifies their belief. The way it's portrayed on screen, it's horrible.
I'm not saying the belief is justified.
No, I know that's not what you're saying. Yeah.
So let me go back, because you jumped in because you couldn't get out the part that you said I was missing. So if we just do a bullet point kind of story of what the plot is, it's going back. It's the two Edwards, big Nazi fucking Edward Norton's character.
Yeah.
Young Nazi Edward Furlong in the making looks up to him. Later we see it in a flashback that comes towards the end of the film, but the idea is that kid's little firefighter. The mom is just some kind of like put upon mom, very passive. The firefighter is this racist, guy who's starting to turn his son and ultimately his other son by proxy racist when the Edward Norton character is learning about native son, and the dad is like, that's nigger bullshit.
Well, it's not immediately when he says it's nigger bullshit. He starts to come off, and I wish they had left the nigger bullshit part out of it, because it would have made for a stronger. I personally think that if everything that he was saying up to that point was racism in a way that people put out in order to say, I'm not racist, but, you know what I mean? When you throw nigger bullshit,
but at the end of the sentence, you get to nigger bullshit.
You do get nigger bullshit, and that takes away. For me, it's a little bit too blatant. But go ahead. I'm sorry. We'll talk a little bit more about this. I'll get into my opinion on this, though.
So we have the two Edwards.
It's amazing how much we don't like this film, but for different reasons.
Take 4.
Oh,
you have the two Edwards. Stop me at any moment.
Yeah.
Feel free to jump in.
Sure.
You have the two Edwards. Take 6. You have the two Edwards. The older one, young neo-Nazi. You have the younger one, Edward Furlong's character, neo-Nazi in the making. Mm-hmm. The idea is that, not in the order that the film takes place or it's edited, but in terms of how the story plays out. Starts off, these two brothers in this household, they're the sons of a firefighter who is racist. Mm-hmm. Turns out that the firefighter ends up getting killed. You get this whole idea of like, oh, he was killed by a non-white person. Starts to become radicalized, becomes the hero of this neo-Nazi clique that's happening, or this movement that's building in Venice Beach, in the city. Fast forward, because that's how it's really broad strokes, this film. Fast forward, you really see the way that the territory is like won is through this basketball game. Plays basketball against the black dudes, slam dunks, wins. Later on, it turns out that they come back to, as I said earlier, conveniently break into his car while he's having sex with Edward Norton's character is having sex with Melissa Balk's character. The younger brother informs him that they're breaking into the car, these black guys. So then Edward Norton's character goes out, shoots, kills them, curbs the one dude who actually beat in basketball, goes to prison, links up with the Aryans in prison who end up raping him after he basically rubs them the wrong way by being too ideological and always preaching about fucking Aryan shit, where the realities of prison is just kind of like, this is just gang affiliation shit. And he's, like you said, he's stepping out of line. So they're like, no, now we're going to fucking step out of line, motherfucker. And metaphorically, it's like he's getting fucked by his own. That's the metaphor. At the same time, he's befriending this black comic relief character while they do laundry. And so that goes to the sheets. And they talk about basketball. So it's all love and basketball, but with Nazis. And they humanize one another. And of course, it's like Lakers versus Celtics. There's no mention of the Bulls, you know, in prison in the 90s. Let's mix our metaphors there. Moving on, apparently that guy, that comic relief character in the film, supposedly like put out a good word for him or whatever, so he wouldn't be attacked after he got raped and basically left the whites. He gets out, so now it's like this grand return to fucking society and to his movement, but he's no longer in the movement. His hair has grown back. He comes back to find his younger brother now trying to emulate him, and the Stacey Keach character has, in a sense, moved on and has now gone on to groom the younger brother, but at the same time, he's like, yeah, but you get a sense that if Edward Norton is still a believer, he can still be useful to the movement.
Yeah.
In that sense, it's kind of like Steve Bannon type of thing where it's like, well, Trump is a moderate to the MAGA movement. Like, he's just a tool. He's a figurehead. They don't care about specific. I mean, that sliver of MAGA doesn't really seem to. It's about something larger.
Yeah.
For the Steve Bannons of the world. We can get into and because I still want to talk about the Nazism, like the history and how it's playing out now and how it goes into it. But so now you have this, and it all happens, as you said, in one fucking night. So you have this party, but the backdrop of this is that Edward Furlong's character is having problems at school because of these racial issues that are ill-defined, as you describe them. And so now he has Avery Brooks from fucking A Man Called Hawk, you know, from Deep Space Nine, doing this special class with him where it's like, you're going to fucking write about what I quoted in the beginning. You're going to analyze the events involving your brother Derek's incarceration and how those reflect on contemporary American life and how they impact you and your family. So the backdrop of the film is that it's this class and this paper that he's working on, and he's trying to come to terms with the whole arc of Derek in this paper. So it's kind of like that paper is, and that night of having to write it is the clock, the ticking time bomb. And he's trying to make sense of it throughout this film with flashbacks and flash forwards, basically as the plot just goes. It's not a flash forward, but as the plot just moves forward, where you have this violent confrontation between Edward Norton's character and the Stacy Keach character, and everyone at the party turns. They realize that he's rejected the movement. So since it's all about identity, he's rejected them because that's all they fucking have. It's like all you have is fucking your affiliation to this larger fucking group. That's it. And your whole identity is just hanging on that little fucking thread. Any supposedly affront to that group is like now an affront to you. So then they start calling him nigger, which would be the worst thing you could say to a white supremacist.
Yeah.
And then fucking basically the next bullet point is the next morning he's Edward Furlong's character is supposed to go turn in this paper, and Edward Norton's character is working with the cops somehow. And
well, there's a scene that's cut out. Stacy Keach, after Ed Norton beats the shit out of Stacy Keach and slaps Ethan Suplee around a little bit. Suplee and Keach end up at a burger joint, and you can see Keach starting to groom Supplee's character. Really stupid. A young black man comes in with his white date. They get into that. And then Suplee and Keach leave. And conveniently, the black players from the basketball... No. The kids that Edward Furlong is having a problem with, because it's a green I think it's a green Monte Carlo or something. That they've seen them coming out, and I guess they're following them. So they follow them out onto the beach, and apparently they beat the shit out of them. They don't show that, but when you get to the scene that you're referring to, where they're at Johnny's coffee shop over there on Wilshire, the cops come in to let Ed Norton, and it's bad writing, because without that scene, you're kind of imagining that that they're coming to talk to him about the beating that Ed Norton gave them, but in actuality, they've gotten the shit kicked out of them by some Crips that would ultimately end up playing where you're going to get to in a minute.
Right. So you understand the dangers coming in the film.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like, well, we've got to fucking get out of here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But you get a sense in the film as it's playing out that Edward Norton thinks everything's just going to be okay somehow.
Yeah.
But then as the moment is coming, you get a sense that he's like, oh no, shit, it's not. It's really bad right now.
It's a little bit too obvious, don't you think? It's just like, if this guy's as smart as he, Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Edward Furlong goes into the bathroom to take a piss. He has his fucking American History X paper rolled up, as a 90s student should, and turns around, and then here's the big bad black kid fucking shoots him dead. And Edward Norton psychically runs back. The crime scene is already set up. Like, the tape is already fucking there. Like, the black principal is the one controlling the fucking crime scene. So he's like, no, let him through. So Edward Norton's character runs into the crime scene, hugs his brother. What have I done? Oh, fuck. And then we get scenes of the beach, and the voiceover of the paper, the quote from Abraham Lincoln, and then what have we learned, children? and then it ends. So that's the after school special aspect of it, where, as you said, like, this is treated, the specific, the kind of the neo-Nazi aspect of it is, it's not even treated as like this weird outsider thing, where in a sense it's okay. Let me back up. Remember that movie that this is early on when this is 10 years ago, early on when I started doing episodes, before I was even regularly on the show. We did that LIE episode or Lie or whatever it is.
Yeah. Long Island Expressway, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, yeah. That film is, what's the name of that actor?
Which one, Paul Dano or Brian Cox?
Brian Cox.
Mm-hmm.
He's this fucking groomer, this predator. And it shows how he grooms this young man. And it shows aspect. I remember describing, there's a point where he shaves. It's Paul Dano, the young guy?
Mm-hmm.
He stands, I remember this fucking scene, and it just gives you like the creeps.
Oh, it's fucking creepy as hell.
He's behind this kid, the adolescent kid, and he's shaving it, but from behind. And they're looking in the mirror. And there's a ritualistic aspect to it. It feels almost like it's this perverted fucking rite of passage, right? And you really get put into the lair, the fucking, the monster's fucking lair. And I don't want to simplify it in terms of just say monster as in this person's just evil and that's it. They're all too human, but what I'm getting at is that.
Well, I get what you're saying. You're talking about, well, I mean, the way I take it, let's not simplify this and you make it, you call somebody a monster or a demon or the devil. You take away their humanity, which means you rob them of, you rob us of our ability to see this in the world. As an alternate view. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so you're in, or the belly of the beast, or however you want to describe this kind of like his house of horrors, whatever these exaggerated types of statements are about these points of critical mass, these areas where they do their fucked up shit, and that I think was missing from this film, that aspect. And then another element is you see the other kid who was like the older one, who kind of is no longer the it boy, and the jealousy.
Yeah.
From his perspective as this person who's been victimized, who has this kind of like, I guess like a Stockholm syndrome kind of thing, where he identifies with his abuser. And then that person, fucking spoiler alert, that kid becomes the one who lashes out and kills
Big John.
Brian Cox's character. Yeah, Big Joe or whatever his name was.
Big John. Creepy as fuck. That even the name creepy as fuck. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of elements to that in this. Even Fight Club, you get a sense of, once you start to figure out what's happening. And I think with Fight Club, the confusing part is that number one, it's cool, so somehow cool, and it looks cool, and fucking and the Pitt character kind of codes and reads as like a character who symbolizes like more freedom, and he's the one that has sex in the film, and he's the one that's like, Edward Norton's character is a mess, and he can't sleep, and he's fucking all fucked up, but Brad Pitt's character is like so-called like the free one, right?
Yeah.
But what you're actually watching is you're actually watching these young men become part of this thing that is all ultimately, it's supposed to be setting them free, but it's harming them.
Yeah.
And it's doing harm. The movement is doing harm to its own members, outside, but also to its own members. But they just see it as these kind of like, oh well, they're just martyrs to our fucking Project Mayhem shit. And it does a good job of putting you inside that movement in the same way that LIE or LIE does a good job of putting you inside that process of being radicalized or being groomed. And I think that's really missing from this film, because this film ultimately isn't about, or it doesn't come off as a film about the radicalization of young men, and specifically young white men. It comes off as like how we should all be friends, and can't we all just get along? Which is, yes, I mean, that sounds amazing. But it doesn't address how any of this shit happens in the first place. So that, like, now through the lens of current events, I mean, we talked about the 80s a little bit with Tom Metzger. There was other shit going on in the 80s with, there was a group called The Order, there was a group called The Covenant, The Sword and the Arm of the Lord. Before that, you had fucking, remember when they just did that Madison Square Garden Trump rally, and then people were talking about the Nazi fucking rally in the 30s at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, remember that.
There was fucking George Lincoln Rockwell in the 60s got assassinated by another neo-Nazi, a disaffected neo-Nazi in the 60s. There's the fucking Turner Diaries book. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I'm familiar. I haven't read them, but I'm familiar. Turner was the guy that wasn't the guy that shot George Wallace? No.
It's a novel, and it's about like a white
that
revolution.
shit. Yeah, you can't. Yeah,
and it has a truck bomb. It features a truck bomb. Now, that's fucking late 70s. Okay, the 80s we talked about. Jump into the 90s. Early 90s, you have fucking Ruby Ridge. It's a shootout in Idaho where the FBI raid this property, and they kill this guy named Randy Weaver. They kill his wife and his son.
Yeah.
So people fucking get pissed off.
Yeah.
Because they see it as government overreach. They see it as we're under attack, and these are already like gun-toting fucking militia types.
Was Ruby Ridge before or after Waco?
That's what you're very good. So like, so it's right. You're at 92, and then 93 is Waco. FBI and ATF raid fucking more gun-toters, right? Although the Branch Davidians weren't a racist group, you have racists looking at that and saying, again, fucking government, big government overreach, and a lot of it has to do with guns. So you get like this patriot movement, militia movement. You get a guy named Timothy McVeigh, he's fucking pissed off about these things. And he's like, you know what? What's up with this Turner Diaries shit? What's up with this truck bomb? So you have 1995, he blows up Oklahoma City, the Merle building, or whatever it was called. I can't remember the name of the building, but he does that on April 19th, which is the anniversary of Waco. And incidentally, it's the day before Hitler's birthday, which was also the anniversary, well, which would be the anniversary of Columbine, which kind of supposedly had like potential undertones of that too, but not necessarily. But then you get guys like Alex Jones that are like, "Oh, this is the big government overreach, blah blah blah," and it's fucking public access shit, which later becomes internet shit. And so at that point, and this butts up against fucking white evangelical shit.
Yeah.
Because they're conspiracies. At that time, it wasn't, the big bad government was called the New World Order. And they would show, like, the dollar bill, and it fucking says, like, Novo Ordo Seclorum, and they were like, that means New World Secular Order, and the world's gonna end, and blah, blah. And it's like, it actually means the New Order of the Ages, or of the Centuries. But they read incorrectly secular as seclorum, as secular. So it has elements of the evangelical satanic panic. It has elements of anti-big government sentiment, militia, sovereign citizen, no tax shit, conspiracy theory. You get fucking Stormfront, fucking 4chan, 8chan, Reddit, shit that ultimately becomes what we're living through now. So fucking the New World Order gives way to, what does it evolve? It evolves into the idea of the deep state.
Mm-hmm.
All the satanic panic stuff evolved into Pizzagate and the QAnon shit.
Yeah. And that's how we have...
You get all these... Yeah, you get all these other fucking... it wasn't Tom Metzger, it becomes fucking, Gavin McInnes and fucking... the Proud Boys.
Proud Boys. Jews will not displace us, or was it replace us? Or?
Right. You will not replace us.
The
Great Replacement Theory, which says that, again, white civilization is being taken over by people out breeding and coming in and out voting. And so the only thing to do is to take it back. So that's why you've got the Stefan Molyneux. You don't hear much about him anymore, but men's rights, race realism, IQ, bell curve, Jordan Peterson connects to that. Mm-hmm. Fox News is a pipeline, obviously, with Tucker Carlson and his shit. The Manosphere is a pipeline to that shit with Andrew Tate and all that shit. Mm-hmm. Military podcasts, UFC, active clubs, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, fascist shit, wellness shit, anti-vax, that leads to it. I'm not saying it's all fucking fascist, but I'm saying, like, these things now in the internet time, like, not the internet time, but our current internet version of it with social media the way it is, it all fucking pipelines very quickly to white supremacist fucking shit. So this shit is very fucking relevant, and Edward Norton's character would be all about fucking Trump. Yeah. He'd be all about fucking ICE raids and alligator Alcatraz. The DHS, I don't know if you saw that post where they posted that painting. It's called American Progress. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Oh, well, allow me. There's this painting, and it's called American Progress, and it's from the 19th century, and it shows this figure called Columbia, so meaning like a dove, like dove white woman. She's like floating west, and it's called American Progress. So you start to put things together, and you have indigenous people in Buffalo like escaping to the margins of the painting. And the caption, they post this painting, and the caption is, and this is Department of Homeland Security, and the caption says, a heritage to be proud of, a homeland worth defending. And so you have a painting that's very clearly about manifest destiny. Go westward, my son. White man's burden to fucking subdue the fucking land in honor of fucking white culture and civilization and Christianity and all that. Now, the DHS posted this picture, and they have that statement. It says, a heritage to be proud of, homeland worth defending. Heritage is capitalized, homeland is capitalized. Remember when I said that the eighth letter is it's you don't, they're not doing the Kanye West Heil Hitler track. They're not doing that. They're doing something a little bit more dog whistly. If you go to heritage to be proud of, I mean, that's white race, white culture, white history, a homeland worth defending. It's blood and soil. That's fucking Nazi shit. The count the words, a heritage to be proud of, a homeland worth defending. It's. I think when I wrote it down, I think I'm missing some because it's actually the let me look it up real quick. Allow me to make my point. Because I think I'm missing something. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, Well, I look at that. The original. There's a term, 14 words. It says we must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children.
Mm-hmm. So what's the numerology supposed to refer to?
14 connects to the 14 words, which is a fucking which is a Nazi slogan. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. And that post that I mentioned has 14. It has 14 words.
Mm-hmm.
So within Nazi shit, it's 14.
So they're sending this shit out as a signal to their people. I mean, I've heard shit like that. I've heard a few months back there was some controversy over flagpoles that were being erected somewhere, and the flagpoles were going to be 88 feet.
Oh yeah,
so you hear that. It's a lot of this shit, and you have to wonder what kind of. I am definitely of the opinion. A lot of people would be dismissive of it, but I definitely think, and this is what the film should have been. This is what the film. If you're going to tackle a subject like this, then get to the meat of it and get to what it really is about.
From the inside.
From the inside. Well, yeah. You tell me what it is that white people are feeling that frightens them to the degree that that this kind of grooming can take place, that this kind of, I'm not a racist, but attitude can prevail to the degree where it's like, I don't agree with a lot of Trump's agenda, but, I like this about it and he's doing this because I believe personally that a lot of this is pure and simply racism. But race has been such a pervasive element of our lives for so long that so often when you call racism out, you'll inevitably be hit with, you can't stop crying about that. You can't let that go. We've made so many advancements. We've come so far. And I'll be the first to say, yeah, we have come. The life that I'm living is not comparable to the life that my grandfather had. I'll be the first to admit that. But it doesn't mean that there isn't a segment of the population and multiple segments of the population, including those who are in governmental power right now, that would like to roll back those times.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, that is.
And isn't that a great way to fucking shut down a conversation and to shut down criticism? Just be like, now we've made all this progress. What are you complaining about? Or why is it that you're using the race card? And that's just designed as a way to fucking just end the conversation to not address what's actually being said.
Yeah.
And by the way, so it's the caption is 10 words, and then the name of the painting and the name of the painter. Those are 4 more words, so it's 14. It's a heritage to be proud of, comma, a homeland worth defending, American progress, John Gass. So that's the 14.
Okay.
No,
it's calculated. That shit is real, man. And I hate to be
the Sydney Sweeney thing.
Well, you know what? That was before we got on the mic. So if you want to get in the Sydney Sweeney thing, your argument has pushed me closer to what you're saying. So go into the Sydney Sweeney thing if you're going to go into the Sydney Sweeney thing.
Is it's the fucking ad, the American Eagle ad for jeans. That is a play on words between genes as in genetics and jeans as in fucking the jeans you wear.
Blue jeans, yeah.
And the punchline is, my jeans are blue. Which
what?
Say
that's in the. Wait a minute. What? My jeans are blue. That's in the. That's in the ad?
Yeah. What do you mean?
My jeans are blue.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. I just thought it was jeans versus jeans. That's all I thought it was. Okay, that's different. No, I didn't.
Jeans and jeans.
I didn't see the. All I saw was they were bitching about this thing. I never saw the actual ad. And the argument that we were having before this conversation even got started was my attitude, and this is the racism of my part, that the white advertising executives were too stupid to realize that this might be offensive. Because I've encountered a lot of shit that white people say that is offensive, but they don't even, or they claim not to realize that it's offensive, and a lot of times I believe that they don't know it's offensive because they're that fucking dumb, the people that I'm dealing with. But that's a different thing. And my jeans are blue. It
says genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color.
Yeah.
My genes are blue.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes.
Okay. I didn't realize that in the conversation that we were having before the mic started. We started recording.
Okay, but I believe you. The only thing that I'm like, as soon as you go from GEANS to GENES, as soon as you start talking about genes, outside of some kind of like conversation like around science or like oh, it's crazy, like twins, or it's crazy, look how this person looks like their father, or wow, genetics, okay, that's crazy. But outside of that, anytime that genes comes up, like in that kind of conversation, like one of your eyebrows should fucking go up.
And I told you that I could see the correlation, but I also just looked at it as, I'm pretty and I come from pretty people, you're ugly. That's but okay, I see without question the eugenics aspect of it now. If that's the ad, then I see it. Yeah, now I wasn't fully aware of the entire ad, but I just considered it like, when people say, well, they got good genes, where like we would talk about Charles Bronson in Hard Times. 1974, 1973, 51 years old, to look the way he did was in part, this motherfucker got good genes.
Mm-hmm.
But I do recognize that it could be taken a different way. But what you're describing with the ad makes it without question. Okay, so yeah. Now, let's go back to the movie, because there's 2 points that I wanted to make as far as the simplicity of the storytelling. Number one, I did say about the Ed Furlong character coming too quick to his understanding and the side of his brother. It would have taken a whole lot longer, especially if he had been brainwashed for for the year before Edward Norton goes to prison, but also the 3 years that he would have during his incarceration, where he would have been, in this world. It would have been a lot worse.
Right.
He wouldn't have just come back. Was that?
I said, would he have killed his brother?
Yeah, exactly. That, I mean,
Trader.
you fucking race trader, So there was that aspect of it, but there was the simplicity of the relationship between Guy Torry and Ed Norton in the prison, because there's this one moment that is written where Ed Norton wants to know why he's in prison, and Guy Torry doesn't want to tell him, and eventually he tells him, "I dropped a TV set on a cop's foot. I broke his foot. They said I threw it at him. That's why I got 6 years." And that's supposed to be this moment where Ed Norton finally realizes, oh, there is a racial disparity in the justice system.
Yeah.
Way too fucking simple. Way too fucking simple. Yeah. There was that aspect. There was, but then that scene when Norton is a young man, he's in school, and Avery Brooks is his teacher, and he's raving about this teacher. I've never had a teacher that spoke to me this way. And then the father starts getting upset with, what are you reading? Native Son, and eventually it gets to the nigger bullshit line. If they had left that line out, it would have made a much stronger statement, because in my opinion is the way it is, he's just a blatant fucking racist. At that point, you're like, oh yeah, there's no doubt. But before that, he's just a white guy who doesn't understand why things aren't going his way. Yeah, he's conservative.
Yeah.
He just doesn't understand,
concerned. Yeah. Conservative, but I'm saying concerned.
Oh, concerned. Yeah, concerned.
Just like, I'm worried about what's happening,
Yeah. But it's like, because, and I've heard this argument where he's like, I had to pass up two qualified white individuals for these 2 black guys that didn't.
DEI hires.
Yeah, DEI hires.
What they used to call affirmative action.
Yeah, but this is the thing about that. And you've worked enough jobs, and I've worked enough jobs to know that everybody who has their job isn't the best candidate for their job. Now, you could easily say, I've worked with black people, Mexicans, Asians, or that they were dumb as fuck. Sure. But, and this is the thing that they don't address in the film, how many times have I had a white boss that didn't know what the fuck they were doing and had the job because of their skin color, because of who they knew, because of who they were related to?
Of course.
So in a weird way, if you have empathy when you're going into this story, then you can see, yeah, I've worked for people of all races and all colors who just didn't. I remember telling this on stage where I said, it wasn't in reference to race. It was, pay attention. If you're at a job long enough, pay attention to the dumbest bastard who's the biggest ass kisser on your crew. If you stay in a job long enough, that's the motherfucker you're going to work for.
Yeah, that's just politics.
That's politics, yeah. But politics, but race, whether it's white or, as they call us now, people of color, race becomes a matter of politics.
Of course,
I mean,
that's part of it.
Yeah. But the point I'm making is, this guy is so caught up in his racism that he doesn't even see his, however valid it might be, that these two black candidates were put into their position. You're not even looking at the white privilege that you bring to the table. You're not even looking at how often somebody who is white has gotten a job that they didn't deserve. The system is shit.
That's the definition of fucking privilege, is that like it's not seeing your own fucking position of privilege, and then being offended and fucking like feeling like you're under attack when other people are demanding a sense of justice and a sense of like equity. Then it's like, then you go towards the fucking merit bullshit.
Yeah.
And then you start talking about how you're the victim when other people express how the system victimizes them. Like, how do people speak it out against their oppression? How is that oppression against you?
Yeah.
But they don't see that because, or they see it and they don't want to see it.
No, they don't. That's the thing. They don't want to see it. They don't want to see it.
No, because it's like, why the fuck should I be the minority? There's this, I don't remember her name. I've seen her on YouTube and sometimes on maybe Instagram will offer her to me and be like, here, this is who you were talking about, motherfucker. Like, I know who you want to see. Maybe she'll appear now. She's some educator and activist, and there's a clip of her in some auditorium, and she's addressing the audience, and she's like, stand up, and I'm kind of butchering it, but she's like, stand up if you want to be treated the way, I don't know if she specifically says black people, but let's just run with that. She's like, stand up if you want to be treated the way black people are treated in this country. Stand up. If you're cool with being treated that way. And then she's like, I don't see anyone standing. Stand up. If you want to be treated the way they're treated in this country, stand up. And obviously no one fucking stands up. And she's like, if you're not standing, that means you recognize that fucking like, they're treated a certain way, and that's not how you would want to be treated. So what does that tell you? And then I'm sure in people's heads it's like, yeah, but.
Yeah, but. Always yeah, but.
Well, yeah. It's, yeah, but I have great genes, so why should I be treated that way? It goes back to that Jubilee thing. The Jubilee debate. I mentioned the Jubilee thing last time in terms of the decline of fucking discourse or whatever, but is it really even a decline? I mean, this is just popular fucking bullshit discourse, but Mehdi Hassan had a now very fucking viral, popular fucking debate in the Jubilee fucking format where it's one person against 20 of the opposite ideology or whatever, and as we've talked, like it's been Jordan Peterson against atheists, when before it was like one Christian against 20 atheists, but he was like,
I do that with
I
Peterson.
have to be very fucking crypto right now, and I'm not a Christian, or maybe I'm not a Christian, because I have to maintain I have to keep all of my charlatan balls up in the air as I juggle, so there have been different people, fucking Ben Shapiro, who's the woman who is now convinced or is trying to convince people that Macron's wife is trans. What's her name?
Which one?
She's that right-winger chick. I don't remember her name. African American chick.
Candace Owens?
Candace Owens, yes. Anyway, Mehdi Hassan goes against these so-called conservatives, and very quickly, and I mean, and Jubilee is very much doing this on purpose. It's like, this is all train wreck, fucking American Idol with the worst fucking auditions first, you know? Very quickly, it was dudes that are like, oh, I'm a fascist. I don't know if you've seen this.
So much shit that's out there. I don't know.
Very much, and he didn't know, and he's an actual, like, he's not just some internet personality, he's a journalist. He's a legit
Is it a white guy with a beard who directed a film about transgender youth or something like that? Mark or Mike?
No,
or...
this is a guy who used to be on Al Jazeera.
Oh, okay. That's different.
Yeah. And he's a reporter.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a fucking YouTuber. He's not a podcaster. He's not a fucking, none of that. He's a legit reporter. He's a journalist. With all of these people that are platformed talking about these issues, and very quickly it moves towards Christian nationalism, fascism. You gotta go. I don't want you here. Because it's like mask off real quick. And that's where we're at. And going towards the radicalization of, I don't want to be Scott Galloway and be like, well, there's a fucking crisis of young men and fucking, because at that point it's just kind of like, okay, now that means we need to find the correct Tyler Durden that they can follow, that will address their issues. And I think that's a misplaced kind of, okay, are they going to follow Rogan? Are they going to follow Patrick Bet-David for the millionaire pyramid scheme thing? Are they going to follow Jocko Willink and get up at 4 a.m. to do fucking push-ups and be a jiu-jitsu Marine, American sniper, fucking Navy SEAL? Are they going to fucking, like, buying into that argument already means that it's like, oh, young men or society or Western culture or whatever was better before, and now it's getting worse. I mean, I do think there is validity to saying that things have gotten worse over time, especially if they have in terms of, I mean, look at how the politics have shifted now to an authoritarian situation. But I think a lot of times built into the argument that there is a crisis of a demographic group and we need to address the needs of that group. From that perspective, I think we have to be careful, because then it becomes like, well, what are you selling? What's your fucking solution?
Sure.
And that's how, even if there were so-called no crisis, like, that's how the Stacy Keach character comes in and says, like, look, who's addressing your needs? You guys are in fucking crisis. Look around you. This and this and this. Look how they're taking your jobs. You don't have a future. Blah blah blah. And then they're going, yeah, that's true. So what? Okay, so what's the solution? The solution is that you need to fight for your race. Look at what they're doing to you. Yeah. Look at what they're doing to us. And then next thing you know, these motherfuckers are marching with tiki torches, because they've been sold this fucking bill. And it's the radicalization. That's the fucking, the crisis is not that they're, whatever crisis people say, it's the crisis of people saying there's a crisis and follow me.
You see, that's the better film. That right there, what you just described, is the better film that this dances around. And it dances around it, and it makes it too simple and too easy, and ultimately it fails. I think for all of its accolades, and as much as a lot of people really respect this film, it fails. It's a noble failure, but it's a failure nonetheless.
It doesn't go far. yeah, it doesn't go in. It doesn't go inside enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's from a very safe perspective that wants to make everything as simple as let's just get along.
Yeah.
Without addressing the process, the sway, the seduction of adolescent males and young men, and basically gang type of behavior.
Well, I think that would romanticize it too much for the political taste of a studio and for an audience, for that matter. But it would go a hell of a lot. It would go a hell of a lot farther in making a better film that was more honest. And if you must teach a lesson, that's the lesson that should be taught. Beware. Yeah.
Yeah. American History X. Back to the special. Worth the watch.
Oh, absolutely worth the watch. Yeah.
Worth the watch. Worth the look into the past. Worth the look into the present. But it's also like you're gonna look at the past and the present through the holes that are in the fucking Swiss cheese of the fucking film.
But it forces you to ask questions, and I think that's the important thing. Is that, and it's not what you could. It's not a goal of the film, and it's not a. I don't want to give too much credibility to the film. I think you and I, and our viewing of the film, and recognition of what's missing and what's wrong with the film, motivates a dialogue that I think this country is in dire need of having. So what's missing in this film is what's great about the discussion that if you're willing to have, you can have and learn from.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also the aspect, and this isn't the right film for that, but there's also a question of like, well, and we're seeing this play out on the political, in the political realm, I should say, is that at what point, like, can you have a dialogue with Hitler? If you're like, are you going to do the Chuck Schumer and be like, well, let's like, there's got to be certain issues that we can work together on, and Hitler's like, die. You know what I mean? Like it's if you are radicalized, how do you become? Joe Rogan had a guest on, I don't remember this guy's name, African American dude that would go.
I was just thinking about him. Yeah,
he was one of the great guests from when before Rogan fully emerged as whatever he is. Where he just let this guy talk for most of the episode. This guy would go and meet with black guy who would meet with KKK members, and they would talk, and he would basically like disinfect them.
Yeah.
He would to whatever extent it was him doing it, and them willing to like do the work as well, as like he would deprogram them. But it's like it's fucking one person at a time and at great personal risk to himself.
The man is yeah.
Huh?
He is a great man. I don't know because I don't know if I would do it. I know I would not do it.
What the fuck? Yeah, I mean, like, no.
Let's be honest. I would not do that. I don't know if you would do it, but
no, I would not fucking
no. But here's the thing about that guy.
I don't even advocate doing that.
No, but there's a dedication this might sound simplistic, but I honestly do believe it. It's really easy to hate a group. It's a lot harder to hate an individual if you get to know them. Now,
Right.
that individual might make you hate them. But if you have empathy, I'm not talking about sympathy. We've talked about this in the past. Empathy. And you can listen to somebody talk. And you can try to understand where they're coming from and why they believe what they believe and what brought them to that. What was their experience? What have they seen? What have they been taught? And you can show them you as a human being. It's a lot harder for them to hate you. And it's a lot harder for you to hate somebody if you really get to know them. In most cases. Now some people you just hate. But I don't believe that's the case with the majority of people. What that man does is I don't know. I think it's crazy. But I think he's an honorable man for doing it. I think there's a nobility to it. I think there's I don't understand it, but he seems to have had some success with it. Great deal of success, so good for him.
Start with the questions. Start with the movies. Start with looking outside of your fucking life. World cinema can potentially help. Travel can help. I don't know about travel nowadays. Opening your fucking mind. The people who listen to this podcast don't need it. The people who don't listen to this podcast need it.
Yeah.
May the movie gods help them. buymeacoffee.com/WatchRickRamos. That's buymeacoffee.com/WatchRickRamos. This one is for Stephen Palmer. Later.